I'm not gonna lie, productivity and motivation since we've moved here has been really low. Productivity is one of those things that I think I've had like a toxic relationship with, where I feel like if I'm not doing something every day that like goes towards my overall goals or goes towards making my life better, that I'm completely failing. And I feel like that comes from our culture, well, American culture, hustle culture, um, and I think also just an overall toxic uh, association with rest that I've had. And I talked about how in my previous job, I went through burnout and I was unhappy, and I was lucky enough to be able to quit and stay at home for a little bit. But I had to really go back and realize where that burnout came from. I mean, I've gone through school, I've gone through getting my master's, I've gone through other jobs, and with my previous job, it was the first time I had experienced being burnt out, not feeling like I could give anything else. I felt like I was uninspired, I was unhappy, and just felt like I was going through the motions of my job, where other people who I was working with felt like this was the career for them, and I was completely burnt out. And I think that on social media and online, it can be really easy to see how other people work and feel like you're not doing enough. You see so many people talk about how they have fulfilled days, and lately I've just been feeling uninspired and unmotivated, and I wanted to get to the root of why. I wanted to get to the root of what does productivity look like to me? Is the ways that I've been thinking about it have been wrong? Do I need to change the way that I think about productivity? I don't think I give myself a lot of grace. Like, you know, that concept that says if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. I think that's like my daily mindset. Like, if I have time to sit down, I have time to be doing something productive. And recently, like I've said before, we did a big move from Texas to North Carolina. And that move was so tiring. And I will tell you, I completely burned myself out trying to do everything. Almost to a point where I didn't even really enjoy the moving process. I was just stressed the whole time. I didn't see myself being productive or useful if I wasn't running up and down the stairs moving furniture. So I think the first step in trying to get rid of toxic productivity is to look inward and to see where this toxicity comes from. Mine comes from, I think it started in college, where I felt like during my weekends or times when I wasn't doing anything, I could be writing a paper or reading a book or studying up on something, working on my career. It felt like there was always something that I needed to do, that now in my life when things are much slower, I don't know what to do. And the thought of having to figure out what to do is causing this weird burnout. I need to learn how to slow down, take things one step at a time, take things one task at a time. Because if I try and rush and do everything at once, that is when burnout occurs, and it's also where things get messed up. I learned about the concept of sustainable productivity. And of course, many people have different terms of how they talk about productivity, but I felt like this one was the perfect one to fit everything that I felt like I needed in my previous job. For the website Forge, Carla Starr wrote an article called "Ambition is Overrated. Slow productivity isn't enough. It's time to embrace sustainable productivity." She says in the article, quote, "Burnout is an adaptive response to a crappy, motivation-depleting situation. One way to help mitigate this is to maintain boundaries with your definitions and your time. It's to work on your self-care." She says, "My goal is to have as few of my self-esteem eggs in my work basket as possible. My goal is to be efficient in order to work fewer hours overall. My goal is to see work as the part of my life that lets me pay the bills," end quote. The goal is not to judge yourself based off of what you got done that day, or to judge yourself based off of what you did at your job or your job titles. Your goal is to focus on yourself and putting more eggs into the basket of things that fulfill you, that make you happy. When I decided to leave my job and focus on myself, I felt like I was bringing no value, and I felt like my days were being wasted because I was at home. I only thought of myself as much value as the jobs that I had. And when I didn't have that job anymore, I had to realize that my value, and especially my productivity, does not have to be this sort of judgment thing that I put on myself. Sustainable productivity is learning when to say no, learning when you need to push, but also when you need to slow down. It's about knowing when to take those breaks and not letting outside pressure, or in my case, inside pressure, push you into a state of burnout. I think it's important to set goals and systems for yourself, especially when it comes to personal growth and even professional growth. But don't value yourself based off of how productive you are or how many things you can get done in one day. I am more than my jobs. I am more than my career. I am more than the degrees that I hold. I am a sister, a daughter, a girlfriend, a friend. I am many things besides just all of the other outside things that define me. So for now, I'll be practicing sustainable productivity and seeing how it works out. Let me know if you try it too. What are some of your ways of dealing with burnout? Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.